Alright, so it's been a little bit. We've been kind of focusing on the house projects. We're right at the end, a couple more weeks. We're hoping to be out of the house. So we're back in the shop, tidying up projects. Anyone that's following along, I did the steering on the dinghy. Ended up tossing it back in the water without the gear shifter or the throttle. And so I was using the tiller and the steering wheel, which was just strange. So I finally got all my parts in. There was a part of, I need to order some parts. Just like everything else backed up. So I ended up getting all my parts in and finally found some time after work to actually start putting this thing together. I haven't mocked any of this up. I actually went and used a cheaper kit. I found this kit on eBay, I think. I'll have to look actually. Anyways, I looked up, since this outboard, this is a Yamaha 15 horse, this outboard actually has the option in the rubber grommets to switch us over to remote cables. I just looked up the part number on their website and then called around looking for it. I don't know how this kit's gonna work. It is a cheaper kit. I think I spent $100 on it, so I was okay spending that. I called into West Marine, I think it was West Marine, I don't know, Marine store, and they said that it'd be $700 for these adapters. And I'll use a tiller for $700. That's crazy. So we'll see if this was a good option. I'm gonna kind of do a blind just install. I'm not gonna test foot because I want to show like really what it has to go through. This thing also came with no instructions. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but don't specifically ever done a Yamaha before, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, so no instructions. We're gonna bolt the bracket. I got some cables, and I got my gear shifter. I'm gonna run through that. I'm gonna try to capture it. It's all kind of down here in the outboard. I'm gonna try to capture it as best I could, and I'll give you an unbiased review of what I'm thinking, because if this does work, it's a heck of a lot cheaper than buying the ice wheel. But I mean, really, so I mean, this is the meat and the potatoes. I mean, you got the bracket that your control cables go in, and then a few arms that come through, and they're just basically, you can see the tilt has cables running through. These will essentially go in, and these are, you're going to hang out the side of the outboard and click forward, back, gear shift forward, back, throttle forward. And then I bought universal cables and universal control box shifter. So they should, I checked all the sizes, everything should interface just fine, but I mean, just like anything else, I'm sure there's surprises. So I'll be sure to capture those if I find them, just so someone, if they want to trade this. One thing right away I'm noticing, I was just before the video, I kind of held it up. My throttle cables go out quite a bit over my seat. I tucked my seat back because this is only a 10-foot dinghy. I'd never seen a 10-footer with a center console. Part of the reason why I wanted to do this, because why not? So I put my center console pretty far back, and I wanted this chair to be pretty far back, thinking that if I wasn't going to sit all the way back because the outboard's back there. So we're going to see, I may have to move my center console forward. Really don't want to do that. It's not that hard. It's just more, I got to tear up the sealant and all that stuff to do it. So we'll see. But yeah, so I'm going to get started. If you want to see how to do this, follow along, and I'll show you a way. Maybe not the right way, but I'll show you a way. So we're going to start with the basics. We got our tiller here. Underneath the tiller, we got a push-pull cable. They're kind of all spazzed out because I started messing with stuff. And then we have the gear shifter here. As you can see, that guy just goes through, and it all comes to right here. You got throttle here, and then gear shift, you can't really see, is below that. So this guy right here, that's the gear shift. And then I have these little plugs in here. That'd be throttle, gear shift, and there's two plugs in there. Let's see one. Oh, they're there. There's two plugs in there, you can kind of see, and that's for the bracket. So I'm gonna put the bracket on first, and then I'm gonna take the old cables off. I'm not gonna get a hole onto that because it's really just removing. Pulling stuff apart is always easier than putting it back together. So I'm just gonna kind of tear that off real quick, and then I will jump back and show you me installing it. And hopefully it just goes real quick and easy, but it usually doesn't, so we'll see. All right, so we gotta take this tiller off. I'm gonna actually take this off and I'm going to keep it all together and actually store on the boat. Everything I'm doing with this center console, remote control setup, steering, everything, that's all reversible. So one, if this thing ever fails, I want to be able to put a tiller back on so I can just cruise old school. Or also if I ever do want to upgrade outboards, which I'm sure I will, I mean, unless this thing just runs flawless forever, then I can put it back together and at least, I don't know, donate to someone else or something, I don't know, but at least it'll be a working unit, because if I had the tiller missing, it would only work for someone who's, I don't know, odd enough to put a 15 horse motor on his little tiny center console, I guess, and I don't think there's many. So my point is I'm going to keep all this stuff together. So if years down the road, I'll just stash it somewhere. I'll probably forget in the boat. It happens. All right, that's it. Just as easy as that. Don't know why they designed it that way. If anybody watching are Yamaha outboard engineers, why? You can't really get a freaking ratchet in there. You can't get a whole lot of anything in there. Not that at least I found or cared to go look that hard. There might be an easier way, I don't know. But that thing's out. So these guys here are your throttle cables. Both of these are throttle. Obviously, that is going to be our gear shift. So I'm just kind of pulling these back through, or at least attempting to. All right, so tiller's off. So I'm going to pull these cables back through. Throttle cable 1. Parts of tiller. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this a whole lot, but here. So those are both throttle cables, not to be mistaken for one gear shift, one throttle. So those are both throttle. So I'm going to take those off first, and then we'll start. Then we'll do gear shift. I think throttle is going to be more pain in the butt, so we're going to start with that one. So just 2 nuts. You can see that. That just clipped the flat bracket. And one here. One there. And then we've got this little throttle section here. Now this is the fun part. This is where the directions would have been nice. Again, it's not rocket science, but we got a whole linkage section here. Clearly, idle, throttle, yeah, right? But what do I hook onto, right? So this is where it gets fun. I'm gonna guess. I was a betting man. I'm gonna guess this guy here. If I guess, I'd say this guy here was open. Oops. If it'll adjust. This little hole here was open. And so I think the rod goes down. As you can see, the hole's down here. So we got to go from here to here. There's a little S-bar in there. So I'm guessing this is going to go down to here. As you pull forward, that'll turn this forward. Bada bing, bada boom. So let's see. Change my mind. I'm going to put my bracket on first, and then I can set this stuff up. So this bracket is just a holder. You can see here, holds 2 cables. What I don't like about this, and I don't know because I've never done the Yamaha, but I've only seen or messed around with cable stuff on bigger outboards. I've never got to a 15 horse. So this has been a kind of a learning as I go. This bracket hangs off a ton. And so that's one observation I don't like, because you can see this thing hangs off like crazy. So down the road I may play with that. I'm not sure. I'm going to see how it looks when it's actually together. But first impression, not my favorite, honestly. So there's these 2 holes. Just gonna boom, boom. I don't know if you can see that in the video. Okay, so one thing I'm not stoked about is this guy. The thing about me is I'm probably going to bitch about it a few more times. We'll see how it actually goes together, but you can see here, I kind of try to keep everything behind here. If anything, I just thought the cable would be situated here and then kind of curve the where it's mounting up now. Camera. Where it's mounting out now, it's got to come and then do a bend as well. And so that's, what the hell are you doing, man? Jesus. Sorry. That's why I don't film. That's why Steph does this. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Anyway, so you can see these come out pretty far. And so once they turn, I'm curious how that's going to go. So there might be some learning curves there. With me is I'll probably end up fabricating and doing something different later. Anyways, I always pick apart other people's stuff. So that's just how I am. But I'm at least going to hook this up and run it and give it a chance. And then we'll see. But I think I'm going to do something with this bracket. But we'll touch on that later. So, okay. So bracket's in. Now, this one's got a square end, and so I just kind of try to figure out what the heck I got here. And this one slides right into the gear shifter. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that out as my throttle. And then, interesting enough, I've got 2 levers now. And I only need 1. So I think it's a safe bet. We've got a clockable here. I'm guessing this is going to go through, and this is going to sit on the outside, judging just by height. So this will be a high, and that'll be a low. So. So first impression, so I was right, we got this throttle. Then we're getting full throttle too, which is good. Range of motion looks good from here to there, dropping stuff. So I will say one thing I don't like, which isn't a hard fix, but they gave looks like there's a little spring clip in here. And look at that, I mean that's just kind of freaking a 2-stroke with rattly parts. Man, that's gonna get old. So that's an easy fix. I mean, I just need to get some washers and basically pull this out harder so it can kind of tighten up on that spring clip, and then it should firm up a little bit. That's my first observation. It's not my favorite, but you can kind of get an idea of it. So, I mean, it's smooth, All right, next up, this guy looks like it's just a square drive with a set screw. I mean, that sounds pretty easy. But I mean, every time I say that, something goes weird. So let's see if I can go for it again. So you can see the gear shift now. That one is simple, slide right in. So now I'll take this cable off here, and then I can take my gear shifter off. All right, so I'm back. I don't know where I left off on this project. So, quick update. I know it's taken me a while to finish this project. You'll see in the pan around the shop, it's just a friggin' disaster in here. We're actually getting ready to rent our place out, and that means I gotta get like years of stuff out of here. Anyways, so I got caught up with other projects in the house and stuff. And I got a little bit, I had to take a breather on this one. So basically what I was dealing with at this one, and I'll show you, is the gear shifter for this bracket sticks out super far. The gear shift cable, the throttle's fine. The gear shift cable sticks out really far. Now, when I started this project, I looked it up and knew that this outboard had the option for remote cables. And so that was what kind of sparked this project, because I knew once I get cables for it, then I could do this. What I didn't know is that I looked up the factory part number on Yamaha, pulled the brackets. Like I said earlier, I got a cheaper bracket, but it was exactly the same looking. And for some reason, these cables stick off really far. Now, generally, you have an outboard well, and you have some room for some cables that stick off far. Well, because everything was I've tightened everything up so much, I put the seat all the way in the back. This is only a 10-foot dinghy. I I've never seen a 10-footer with a center console, so I'm like trying to use up every little bit. I figured I have the cables pretty much right on my back, and I would just scoot forward. Not a big deal. I stand up most of the time on this anyways. But I'll show you what I'm dealing with. And so what I think I'm going to do for now is I kind of put this project off. 4th of July is coming up, and Steph reminded me that, you know, we're going on the boat and we need a dinghy when we're on the boat. So that means I've got a couple nights to figure this out. So what I think I'm going to do for now, I'm going to show you this because I want to show, you know, where I screwed up, I guess. So and what I'm going to do to basically improvise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually trim this bracket, just hook up the throttle cable for now. I'm not going to hook up the gear shifter to my actual shifter itself. It's just going to be a throttle shifter. I'm going to put back the external shifter on the outboard for now for this weekend. And then I think eventually I'm going to make my own bracket to hook up the shifter. I may go through the hole where the external one was going through. There's a spot and I can kind of pick up some slack doing that. But basically I'm just trying to give you like a idea of what I hit and something someone else may want to see. End of the day, I'm going to eventually hook it up. If I don't find another solution, then I'll just move the center console forward and move the seat forward. It just means me losing quite a bit more space. So, all right, so I'm going to show you. I just want to give you kind of a prelude what I'm going to do. And so I'll show you what I'm experiencing, and then you guys will understand. So as you can see here, this is my throttle here, and I've got my cable coming, and I mean, some might think less than ideal situation. I'm going to end up curving it, running it down up to my center console. So that one's a little longer than I expected. And here, actually, you really see this bracket hanging off. So this is the holder bracket here, the front of the outboard. My steering is back here. I mean, I thought my steering was gonna be my downfall, keeping it tight. So I got the gear shift here, throttle here, and it's because it's positioned where it's got to be, and because they're trying to utilize a universal throttle cable. I think they have this long cable generally used for a big outboard or something, but this is what I called for. They're trying to utilize that, so they just, you know, figured what you need 8 inches of travel, so we're just gonna stick this bracket at 8 inches, and then it's huge. So what you're gonna see, what my issue is, it's kind of a rough mock-up, is the gear shift is here. Now, as you can see, my seat is here. By the time I actually get an angle with even kinking this damn thing, I'm halfway in my seat, okay? I made the seat big on purpose, so I would be sitting more frontward of it. But that's pretty extreme. So some people might, I don't know, just run anyways. It's not the end of the world, but it's enough to bug me. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna cut right here. I'm gonna just run the throttle, and then I'm gonna keep this, and if I need to weld it back on, I will down the road if I decide that I'm gonna play this. But what I might do is down here, I have my external shifter. So I'm just gonna put the shifter on front. It's right behind me. It's easy to click, but I may come in out here where the linkage went in originally to do the gear shift. So that's a bummer. I was pretty excited about having the gear shift there, and I haven't given up yet, but that's what I'm dealing with right now. I'm just gonna hook the throttle up for now, because that's really the big one. I mean, it's not like I'm docking this thing where I need to like go forward and back and shift all the time. I mean, when I hop on, I mean, hell, it's a bumper boat. I run it into the boat half the time. Just kick it neutral and bump. So I figured path least resistance, put the gear shift back there for now. We'll see. I'm pretty honest. So if you see me complaining about it in later videos, I was wrong, but I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. But I just want that forewarning for anyone to watch this video. It's just like, at the beginning, I don't want the people to be like, you said you were going to do the controls. So I'm doing half the controls. There's probably a better way. I don't know if it's with this outboard. It's an older outboard. I'll probably upgrade along the way, meaning I'll upgrade my controls along the way. But for now, it came with the boat. It runs great. I'm going to keep it for now. So I'm going to work with what I got. So the steering did work out great from part 1 of this video. Amazing. I just want to get my throttle on the back, but that so far, anyone who watched that one, recap, Works great. I was a little worried about the bends with the cable being too tight. I mean, I'm only like 4 feet away. Great. Strongly recommend the controls. Do your homework, or be prepared to just move your sheet far enough forward. So I want to make that disclaimer. At least my foobar can give someone else a heads up. So, okay. Well, I'm going to get started on mounting this and show you what that entails. All right. So phase one of, let's say, plan B. I'm going to cut this bracket off. Just that extra, just for the gear shift. Maybe wondering why not just leave it there. Anyone that knows me, I will land on this thing 500 times before and then end up cutting it off and wonder why I didn't cut off in the first place. So I already know what I'll sit on it. I know all sorts of shit because it sticks out so much. I don't want it in my back. So I'm just gonna cut it clean. And I also want to answer every time someone gets on the boat and asks why I didn't hook up the shifter, because it didn't work. So I'm going to cut this off real quick and then I'll start hooking up my controls. Yeah, so I'll leave this here because I can be indecisive. I might do something with it later. See, I hooked the external back up. So I'll leave that there. And this is the throttle here. So yeah, we get the cable hooked up, and then I'm gonna also hook up my side control, and we should be getting close. You haven't messed with these. If you're looking at this project to do yourself and you haven't put these cables up, you basically have this round head that threads on here with a lock nut. Gives you a little bit of adjustability, and then this tube inside here, you're back and forth, and then this groove right here saddles in and gets held by that bracket. Now, one thing I want to point out with manual cables, those experienced know this, anytime you put any tension, bend, whatever you do, it's going to make that stiffer. You put too many bends in, you're going to have stiff throttle. I've gotten them big boats with super stiff throttle, small, it don't matter. So try to keep it as smooth as possible. And I'm saying this because if you look at this holder, it's hard to see in the video, but you actually have to tilt it into kind of a bind. To see that, you don't want that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take it, and this is what you'll get with cheaper kits. I'm bragging on how I didn't buy the expensive kit. This is the kind of stuff you'll see. Not a big deal. We'll just put a little bend, pretty dinky bracket. You want to line it up as much as you can. Now remember, there's a range of motion as well, meaning as this goes forward, it goes down. So maybe they were trying to build a little bit into that. So what I tend to do is I'll take full close, full open, and I'll hit about the middle. You want flat, and that'll allow it to bend up this way and down that way, if that makes sense. So you can see that it's a lot better. So as it goes throttle, so what I'll do now is I'll just put the little keeper here, make some adjustments here. See, right now I got some slack in it that I don't want, because it'll drive me crazy. All right, so I'll grab the cable. I'll grab my hands. You should be able to move with your hands freely. If it's hard to pull with your hands, you're gonna feel it. It'll be a little easier when it has the control on it, but idle, full blast. There it goes. Alright, so we're going to be mounting this guy right about there. Not super particular how it's going to be. Yeah, so this guy is internal style. I didn't want the control box on the side. So basically this is where I'll cut a hole, put this through. This will be on the back side. They meet together, and I put the remote, so all you'll see is this. There's even a cover that comes over this. It's the same size. There's a cover that comes over this. So this will be my template. I'm gonna drill a hole. I'm gonna do, as you can see, I've got a big old gap there and a thin. So I'm gonna put a piece of wood in between here as a backing plate, and that'll make up that gap. All right, so I got this beautiful crafted piece of wood. It's just gonna be a backing board. I'm gonna screw this in because this is like, I think cord wrench should be considerate. It's like probably maybe 3/16 nylon. I'm not gonna put my control just on that, so I'll screw this in, and then that piece comes in behind and mounts to it. All right, so that's what the finished product. I mean, remember, I'm only using the throttle. So this will be forward throttle, reverse throttle, and then these will be your gear shift. The cables would come up here, depending on if it's push or pull, but I'm not hooking those up. So got the mount here, so I'm gonna get that put in, see how it goes. So the camera died, so I missed that last step. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. So I got this guy in here. You can see I had to pop my cup holder out because I thought I measured right, but see that lip down there? I measured to the lip and not to this section here, so I'm gonna probably cut that off while the piece of stainless on it. Take advantage of that. That's the hard way to do it. I didn't mean to do it like that, but that's what happens when you get in a hurry. Anywho, so yeah, so I got it in, ran the cable. I ended up looping it here, and it's actually fairly smooth. I mean, honestly, I was a little worried about it, but let's see here. Full throttle. Oh, and then as it spins, it starts to, I just got it just where it kind of looping hard, and then I actually got it here where I bet that loop, and it'll use that loop up as it goes around. And one thing to check, I did make sure that when I had the throttle set and turned it, if you do get into a bind, it may pull the cable. It's not changing RPMs or anything like that. So anyways, for now, you can see kind of how it's set up. Basically, gear shifter's still gonna be over here. I'll just reach behind me. So it kind of had some hiccups along the way. I just ran this along with the steering cable. I still gotta put my fuel tank back in, but all in all, it was kind of not what I expected in some ways, and in some ways it was easier. But yeah, I'll keep adding this dinghy. I kind of like just doing stuff like this. I don't think I mean, we may upgrade a while down the road, may upgrade next year, I don't know, but for now I just kind of want to set this dinghy up to where this is going to be our commuter car basically. So yeah, I think for a 10-footer, I think the space is pretty well utilized. I'm actually going to put a waterproof cover. I put this mesh here, but that's a foam cover. So I got my little dirty footway. This will fit 2 people. And then this is the front area. We got a seat. We actually have a walk around here. So all in all, it turned out pretty good space. I mean, I even have room under here, and I got some ideas. I want to kind of do some other stuff to it in the future. But yeah, for now, I mean, for a little 10-foot Avon dinghy, I like these. They're pretty heavy, but they've got a nice hull on them and stuff. It's already a pretty heavy boat, so I kind of wanted to trick it out. We tow a lot. I don't hike it on the deck if I don't have to. So all in all, yeah, I mean, this is only a 10-footer, and I feel like it's utilized pretty good. It's not going to be set up as good as a $25,000 one, of course, but I think I'm in this thing, all in all, I think I'm like $800-900 in this whole thing, so I'll take that as a win. All right, later.